Welcome to Power Mind Coded. This is not advice meant to comfort you. This is not psychology meant to soothe you. This is reality, spoken clearly. There is a pattern repeated throughout history, business, relationships, and power structures. Emotionally cold men rise. Emotionally warm men struggle. Not because cold men are cruel, not because warm men are weak by nature, but because emotion changes behavior under pressure, and pressure decides outcomes. The world does not reward intention, it rewards control. Emotionally warm men lead with feeling. They empathize quickly. They forgive easily. They hesitate to enforce boundaries. They try to preserve harmony. Emotionally cold men do not lack emotion. They control it. And that control changes everything. When pressure enters a situation, the emotionally warm man feels responsible for emotional outcomes. He worries about reactions. He worries about being misunderstood. He worries about hurting others. The emotionally cold man worries about results. This single difference determines who wins. Warm men seek connection first. Cold men seek leverage first. Connection feels good, but leverage creates security. In negotiations, emotionally warm men reveal urgency. They try to be fair. They try to be reasonable. They try to preserve goodwill. Cold men remain unreadable. They do not reveal desire. They do not reveal fear. They do not reveal attachment. And whoever needs the outcome less controls the outcome. This is not cruelty. It is mathematics. Emotion creates dependency. Dependency creates weakness. Emotionally warm men struggle to detach. They overinvest early. They overexplain. They overgive. They believe loyalty will be reciprocated because they feel it sincerely. But sincerity does not bind others. Incentives do. Emotionally cold men understand this instinctively. They do not assume loyalty. They structure it. They do not expect fairness. They prepare for advantage. They do not trust emotion under pressure. They trust systems, boundaries, and consequence. In leadership, emotionally warm men absorb stress. They internalize failure. They carry emotional weight for others. Over time, this drains them. Emotionally cold men distribute stress outward. They set expectations. They enforce standards. They allow consequences to land where they belong. This preserves their clarity. Clarity is power. Warm men are reactive. Cold men are responsive. Reactivity is emotional. Response is strategic. When a warm man is disrespected, he feels it personally. When a cold man is disrespected, he evaluates intent and leverage. This difference changes behavior. Warm men seek resolution. Cold men seek position. Warm men want peace now. Cold men want dominance later. Warm men fear conflict. Cold men manage it. This is why emotionally cold men appear calm during chaos. They are not suppressing emotion. They have already decided not to let emotion decide for them. Emotionally warm men confuse empathy with wisdom. Empathy is understanding feelings. Wisdom is understanding consequences. Cold men understand both, but prioritize consequences. This makes them appear heartless to those who do not understand power. But power does not operate on feelings. It operates on perception, timing, and control. Emotionally warm men reveal too much. They reveal frustration. They reveal hope. They reveal disappointment. They reveal fear. Emotionally cold men reveal nothing unnecessary. This creates mystery. Mystery creates leverage. People are cautious around men they cannot read. They hesitate. They test less. They respect more. Emotionally warm men are easy to read, which makes them easy to manipulate. Manipulation requires access to emotion, guilt, fear, approval, sympathy. Cold men deny this access. They do not argue emotionally. They do not justify excessively. They do not seek reassurance. Without emotional hooks, manipulation fails. This is why emotionally cold men win power struggles without appearing to fight. They let others exhaust themselves emotionally. In relationships, emotionally warm men overextend. They give too much too early. They attach before trust is earned. Cold men pace attachment. They let behavior reveal character. They let consistency prove intention. This creates imbalance, and imbalance creates desire, respect, and leverage. Warm men chase clarity. Cold men allow ambiguity. Ambiguity makes people invest. Clarity removes tension. Emotionally warm men want to be understood. Emotionally cold men want to be respected. Understanding feels good. Respect changes behavior. When pressure arrives, people abandon warmth first. They abandon kindness. They abandon empathy. They abandon promises, but they respect strength. Cold men prepare for this reality. Warm men are shocked by it. This is why emotionally cold men always seem ahead. They are not smarter. They are not better. They are less emotionally compromised. Emotionally warm men try to save everyone. Cold men save themselves first. And only men who can save themselves can protect others later. This is not a moral argument. It is a survival one. Power favors men who can detach. Detachment does not mean cruelty. It means clarity. Clarity allows correct decisions under pressure. Warm men hesitate. Cold men decide. Decisions move the world. This
Emotionally cold men are not immune to feeling. They are immune to letting feelings decide. This is the difference most people never understand. Warm men believe emotion gives meaning to action. Cold men understand that emotion must follow action, not lead it. When emotion leads, decisions bend. When emotion follows, decisions hold. In competitive environments, this distinction is decisive. In business, emotionally warm men negotiate with empathy first. They soften their stance to preserve relationships. They reveal urgency to appear reasonable. They compromise early to avoid tension. Emotionally cold men do the opposite. They remain neutral. They reveal nothing. They do not rush agreement. They allow silence to pressure the other side. The result is predictable. Warm men lose leverage. Cold men accumulate it. Leverage is not force. It is the ability to walk away without emotional cost. The man who can walk away controls the table. Emotionally warm men struggle with this because they attach meaning to outcomes. They see rejection as personal. They see delay as failure. They see conflict as damage. Emotionally cold men see outcomes as data. Data informs adjustment. Emotion clouds it. This is why cold men dominate long-term games. They do not need immediate relief. They are willing to tolerate discomfort now to secure advantage later. Warm men seek emotional relief quickly. Cold men seek strategic position patiently. Pressure reveals this difference. Under stress, warm men over-communicate. They explain intentions. They justify decisions. They attempt to maintain emotional alignment. Cold men simplify. They say less. They move slower. They choose precisely. This reduction in output creates authority. People associate clarity with leadership, and clarity comes from emotional distance. Emotionally warm men absorb responsibility for other people's feelings. They feel guilty and forcing boundaries. They feel anxious, disappointing others. Cold men enforce boundaries without guilt, not because they lack empathy, but because they understand that boundaries preserve order. Order creates trust. Trust creates stability. In leadership, this difference becomes obvious. Warm leaders try to carry their teams emotionally. They cushion consequences. They shield people from discomfort. Over time, this weakens systems. Cold leaders allow consequences to occur. They do not rescue repeated failure. They do not negotiate standards. This produces strength. People respect leaders who are fair but firm. They lose respect for leaders who are warm but inconsistent. Consistency beats compassion when pressure rises. Emotionally warm men believe that being likable is a form of security, but likability disappears under stress. Emotionally cold men understand that respect is security. Respect survives chaos. When environments destabilize, people align with strength, not warmth. This is why emotionally warm men are often shocked by betrayal. They believed loyalty was emotional. They believed kindness would be remembered. They believed empathy created obligation. Cold men never assume this. They know loyalty is conditional. They know incentives change. They know pressure reveals priorities. They plan accordingly. This does not make them pessimistic. It makes them prepared. Warm men trust emotional bonds. Cold men trust structure. Structure survives emotion. Emotionally warm men also struggle with timing. They act too early because emotion pushes urgency. They confront too fast. They demand clarity prematurely. Cold men wait. They observe patterns. They allow behavior to repeat. They confirm intent before action. This patience prevents mistakes. Many warm men mistake speed for decisiveness. Cold men know decisiveness is not speed, it is certainty. Certainty requires distance from emotion. This is why cold men appear slower but win more often. They move when movement is final. In social dynamics, emotionally warm men try to resolve tension immediately. They explain themselves. They apologize excessively. They seek reassurance. Cold men let tension exist. Tension forces others to reveal motives. It exposes insecurity. It creates imbalance. Imbalance creates leverage. Emotionally warm men want comfort. Cold men tolerate discomfort. This tolerance is a massive advantage. Most men are controlled by their desire to feel good now. Cold men delay emotional gratification. Delayed gratification is one of the strongest predictors of dominance. This is not theory, it is observable behavior. Emotionally warm men are often very capable. They are intelligent, they are kind, they are loyal, but they are compromised by their own emotional investment. Cold men are often misunderstood as detached or distant, but what they really are is uncontaminated. They see clearly because they are not drowning in feeling. This clarity allows them to choose better paths. When conflict escalates, emotionally warm men escalate emotionally. Cold men de-escalate internally. This internal calm shifts the dynamic. The emotional man becomes unstable. The cold man becomes the anchor. People follow anchors in storms. Emotionally warm men believe that expressing emotion creates authenticity. Cold men know that expressing emotion creates exposure. Exposure invites exploitation. This is why emotionally cold men guard their inner state carefully. They share selectively. They reveal intentionally. They never lead with vulnerability in competitive environments. Vulnerability has its place, but power is not that place. Cold men compartmentalize. They feel deeply, but privately. They decide publicly, but calmly. This separation is crucial. The man who feels and decides at the same time is easily manipulated. The man who feels later and decides now is unstoppable. This is why cold men win, not because they suppress humanity, but because they refuse to sacrifice clarity for comfort. This is the middle truth.
Emotionally warm men understand something most people resist accepting. Warmth feels human. Coldness feels dangerous. But danger is often what preserves order. In relationships, emotionally warm men give early. They invest before trust is earned. They reveal depth before consistency is proven. They mistake intensity for intimacy. Emotionally cold men pace connection. They allow time to filter intention. They let behavior reveal character. They do not confuse attention with loyalty. This creates imbalance, and imbalance creates attraction, respect, and leverage. Warm men seek emotional certainty. Cold men tolerate uncertainty. Uncertainty forces investment from others. Certainty removes tension. This is why emotionally warm men often feel taken for granted. They gave everything away before value was established. Cold men never rush emotional exposure. They understand that scarcity magnifies value. In dominance dynamics, warmth signals availability. Coldness signals selectivity. People protect what feels scarce. They exploit what feels abundant. This principle applies everywhere. In leadership, emotionally warm men overfunction. They compensate for others. They absorb stress. They fix problems personally. Over time, this weakens the group. Emotionally cold men create responsibility through consequence. They do not rescue repeatedly. They do not shield people from failure indefinitely. They let systems correct behavior. This produces competence. People grow stronger when discomfort is allowed to teach. Warm men often confuse compassion with protection. Cold men understand that protection without accountability creates decay.
This is why emotionally cold leaders build durable systems. In moments of betrayal, the difference becomes brutal. Warm men feel shocked, they feel wounded, they feel confused. Cold men are not surprised. They anticipated conditional loyalty. They planned for incentive shifts. They prepared emotional distance long before betrayal appeared. This allows them to respond strategically rather than emotionally. Emotionally warm men collapse internally during betrayal. Cold men adjust position. Adjustment preserves power. This pattern repeats endlessly. In conflict, warm men want resolution. Cold men want advantage. Warm men want harmony now. Cold men want stability later. Harmony is temporary. Stability lasts. Emotionally cold men do not fear being misunderstood. They know that understanding does not equal respect. They allow others to misjudge them temporarily because long-term outcomes matter more than short-term perception. Warm men crave emotional validation. Cold men accept emotional isolation. Isolation is the price of clarity. The emotionally cold man is willing to stand alone. The warm man fears separation. Fear of separation compromises decision-making. This is why emotionally cold men often rise quietly. They do not campaign for approval. They do not explain their motives. They do not need consensus to act. They move when ready, and when they move, outcomes follow. Many people mistake emotional coldness for lack of empathy. This is false. Emotionally cold men feel deeply. They simply do not allow feeling to override judgment. They process emotion privately, then act publicly with clarity. Warm men process emotion publicly and act while emotionally compromised. This difference is decisive. Power does not favor the most emotional. It favors the most composed. Composure allows patience. Patience allows timing. Timing decides everything. Emotionally cold men wait. They wait while others overextend. They wait while others reveal desperation. They wait while others sabotage themselves. Then they act once, and that single action outweighs 100 emotional reactions. This is why emotionally cold men appear ruthless, not because they enjoy harm, but because they act when resistance is weakest. Warm men act when emotion peaks. Cold men act when emotion collapses. This is the final separation. Emotionally warm men want to feel good about decisions. Emotionally cold men want decisions to work. Feeling fades, results remain. The world does not reward emotional purity. It rewards functional behavior. This is not a condemnation of warmth. It is a warning about leading with it. Warmth has its place, but power is not that place. When survival, leadership, or dominance is at stake, emotion must follow structure, not the other way around. Emotionally cold men do not win because they are cruel. They win because they are uncompromised. They are not pulled by guilt. They are not rushed by fear. They are not weakened by attachment. They see clearly because they are not drowning. This clarity becomes authority. Authority becomes influence. Influence becomes power. And power reshapes outcomes. This is why emotionally cold men always seem ahead. They are not smarter. They are not stronger. They are simply less emotionally entangled. They do not allow warmth to sabotage structure. They do not allow empathy to dissolve boundaries. They do not allow feelings to override reality. They understand the world as it is, not as they wish it to be. This is the uncomfortable truth. Warm men lose not because they care, but because they care without control. Cold men win not because they lack care, but because they govern it. This is the final lesson. Power favors men who can feel deeply and decide calmly. Power favors men who can stand alone without becoming bitter. Power favors men who can remain composed while others unravel. This is not about becoming heartless. It is about becoming unshakable. Welcome to Power Mind Coded. Control emotion, preserve clarity, choose outcomes over comfort, and you will understand why emotionally cold men